Coach Marks.
Coach V, how are you, man?
Hey, my first podcast, and I'm gonna try to make this better because I had to literally sit outside of this smoothie shop because they wouldn't turn their music down. That's the best place I can get Wi-Fi. But so I'm
Well,
outside. If you hear some car noise, man, we have to drown it out. I don't want to drown out the great points that you'll be making tonight. And welcome. Thank you for taking 25 minutes because I mean this with all sincerity. You're one of the more intelligent guys who have been at every single level. So I couldn't think of a better first guest to educate and help potential prospects, parents, and people that are navigating through the recruiting process in general on what's going on in today's game and what kids really need to kind of focus on.
yeah, I think it's great to be with you and talking about that stuff. And I think navigating the recruiting waters is probably as difficult as it's ever been. So I think both for parents and kids, even finding the right advice and diligently trying to navigate the process and end up with a good decision is probably as tough or as tricky as it's ever been.
I mean, well, let me also start because again, I don't want to misplace introducing you. And I think from what I read, and although I've known you a long time, I wanted to make sure I got it right that you're entering your 28th year of basically doing this professionally, or about that point. And I, the interesting thing that's similar to my background and kind of what I'm doing. One thing that I saw that you've been NAI, you've been Division III, you've been a Division I head coach, and you've been Division II. So for a guy that understands that some things are universally the same, some rules are different, I think that is why, again, you were so important for me. And again, thank you for coming on because it doesn't, you've been at every level. Recruiting's recruiting in some areas, although it's different with some of the rules. But the basic premise of my first question is what really the most simple question I want to start this series on is if you don't already like a kid, love a kid, what advice would you give a player at any event, a showcase, a basketball game, an early tournament? If he's not already a kid, St. Francis is going to recruit. How is he going to get Coach Marks, level aside, to notice him?
Sure. So I think there's a few things, and one is obviously effort and attitude, and so I think most of us in coaching generally look at those things in a fairly similar way. I think sometimes there can be little bits of differences in how we read someone's personality a little bit, particularly like their on-court personality. But right, effort and attitude are going to be, like far and away at the core of an evaluation. Because I think for us in coaching, and again, we might sort of do this in our own way, but for me, like when I start to look at a player, I try to think of them in the context of what can they be in my program or in my conference. So if we bring somebody in, you have to sort of say like, well, what could that person be as a freshman? What could he be as a sophomore? What could he be as a senior? And then, right, we're always thinking about trying to win our conference. So you say, well, what can that player be on a conference championship team? Hey, maybe as a freshman, they can only be a red shirt that's not playing on a conference championship team. And that's fine. Or maybe there's someone who can play 10 minutes a game or 5 minutes a game. And then you look, and as we know, the predicting of development is a very imperfect science, but you have a better chance of predicting if the person that you're starting with, is saying, okay, here's where they're at. And I truly believe this person is hardworking, team oriented, and going to push themselves to get to whatever their ceiling is. It's a lot easier to project that player than someone whose effort or attitude is more inconsistent.
Yeah. And having said that, I mean, you're talking about language there. Like universally, like you said, every kid's a little bit different. I mean, every coach is different on that. But those things in recruiting in general, whether you're a college talent or not, you're not going to hurt yourself by being a great teammate, by displaying great effort. I've tried to talk to parents about the jump shot is really, really easy to see if you're a shooter, but all these things that you think may not matter that every kid controls, that does matter to the college coaching world. Basically, you're answering. People may, like I said, design effort differently for their pro, but you're looking at that stuff still. I think
With
although the world has changed with the select basketball, people think no, coaches are still looking for those. It's not going to hurt you. Am I right?
Absolutely, I think it's I think it's um, I think if you don't um, if you don't embody some of those characteristics that enable a team to have winning qualities, um, there's right there's too many options out there for us as coaches that to settle for somebody that we don't feel like sort of fits the niche or the culture that we're trying to create. Right, it's easy to go on to the next one. And you bring up a good point. Not Look, obviously basketball ability and skill set is really important, but right, the game is still played with the ball out of your hands 95% of the time. And so a lot of what you're right, like for us, we have to evaluate in that, even if it's a good player, when we get them, the ball is going to be out of their hands 90 to 95% of the time. Like, what are they doing in those instances to help their team? And what are they doing? Whether it's on the bench, like, the nature of how important chemistry is. And over the course of college seasons, the types of things that you go through, you lose on the road, you get on the bus. It's supposed to be 2 hours home. It's 4 hours home because, it's a snowstorm. And then, the next day, you guys got exams, then you got practice, and you got another big game the next day. Like, how are you going? Like, one, as a coach, who do you want to sit on that bus with and next to? And who are the guys that have what it takes internally to, respond to the next challenge?
Yeah, you said respond, and but you going back to your last one because I've worked really hard to try to get people to understand that a lot of times, I mean, if talent's equal, increasing your recruitment really comes down to fit. Now, can you explain the word fit? Because it's a broad statement. I know what it means when I'm, running an event or trying to do a seminar. But coming from, again, a college coach that I've got online, I mean, how important is fit based on style of play, coaching? What does that mean, like to the parent that may not know what the word fit is
Yeah,
for St. Francis?
I think it's a really broad. I think it's a really broad term, and it can be narrowed down into categories. And for me, right, I've coached a bunch of different places as an assistant, right, in 4-year schools as an assistant, Division II, Division I, and then back through the ranks, D3, D2, D1, NAIA as a head coach. And right, the kids, there are certain things that remain the same about guys that I enjoy coaching, but guys that I recruited at each school, that doesn't, like, guys that I recruited at Southern Vermont may not have, like, Southern Vermont was a good place for them, but that didn't mean St. Edwards was a good place for them when I got there or when I got to Texas Pan American. And obviously, we're saying that there's a disparity in levels a little bit, but look, like a very, very good Division III player and a solid D2 player are no different, right? A really good Division II player and a good low to mid major D1 player.
That's a great point with today. I mean, you're that's what I. So if you're a very good D2 and a low major D1, who I tell them they don't understand how good D2 basketball is. When I was coaching at West Texas A&M, they think that's like a knock. You have no clue. Go to practice, I tell them. But
right,
that point aside for me.
So,
but that point aside, like if you're very close to D2 and you want to be Division I, what three things like just concrete things can get you. I mean, if you're that
Yeah.
close talent wise, that makes you Division One instead of a high D2.
Well, right. And going back to what we were starting to talk about, the fit and, is like finding the particular program that's right. And and I think with fit, you're talking about a lot of things, right? One, obviously you're talking about the basketball component of it and the skill set and the role and the style of play and all those things. But you're also talking about academically, is it the right place? Does it have your major? Is it a place that you can have academic success? Does it have the right support system given the learning nature of the person? Okay, then we got to talk about socially. Is a big piece of it. And I know this, and we go back to days where some coaches used to say, "Hey, you're at college for two things: basketball and books, and there's nothing else to it." But the reality of it is that's absolutely not true. And this, right, the social fit, the spiritual fit, and right, we talk so much now about mental health. All those things come together. And look, finances are a piece of it too, because that's different from level to level, what the scholarship might provide, what financial aid you get. So, right, families and prospects, they have to go through this checklist to see if the school, if what they believe is a fit for them in all those different areas. And I think the thing that people forget is if one of those things is out of line, the others are going to suffer. But if all those things kind of fit the bill, it's going to allow the person to find the greatest amount of happiness and success in all the areas. So I think we really need to always take a real broad look and at those different the categories of the athletic, the academic, the social, the spiritual, and the financial. And when those things all line up, now you're talking about a place that's the right fit both for the student athlete and for the coach in the other direction, bringing in the right person.
All right, man. I'm gonna give you my two hardest questions because I tell you I keep you within 20 minutes. You know that's hard for me, Coach Marks, because we talk a lot longer, man. We're talking outside of this deal, but what two things is concrete is gonna take a kid off your board? I gave Coach Marks a great lead. I said, Marks, this is your guy. He fits. The kid doesn't know you're coming to the game. Marks goes to the game. I gave him a lead. Like, man, you need a swing three, coach. This kid fits, man. Again, I tell kids all the time, they have to offer you. I'm not no a. They're offering you, but if I give a lead, boom, Coach Mark shows up for the game. Kid doesn't know he's up in the corner. What are two things in that game that is taking that kid off of your board? And maybe you telling 10 friends, right or wrong, Bobby is he ain't because of what you saw. You only got one crack. What are two things you're gonna get him off your board?
Well, I think the first thing, right, is the interaction with the coach, with his coach and coaching staff and teammates. But if someone is difficult to coach, right, and this is something that I've learned through the years, like sometimes we feel if we see someone that has some ability or talent, and we think like,
Coach, that's so broad. If you're looking at them, like I don't think they understand. Like I say, scouts are looking at these things. So what is like one thing that happens that says, that kid's gonna be hard to be corrected when he gets to college?
So I think if a coach is trying to communicate to a player during the game, and the guy blows him off, body language wise, waves him off, isn't responsive, maybe in a timeout, is not locked into what's being said. Coach trying to call a play, guy doesn't want to do it. Those types of things, because at the end of the day, the mistakes that we make as young college coaches is we think, hey, that guy's got a lot of talent. I can help him change. But the fact of the matter is those are very, very difficult things. Those predispositions are very difficult to change. So, I mean, I would say that's something. And then really the other thing is, is lack of hustle, lack of enthusiasm. Like at this level, right? I want to be able to coach guys I feel like, okay, I have this wealth of knowledge that can help players get better and help make my team better if they're going to take what I give them and apply themselves. So, like, my job is to have that information. My job isn't to motivate them. My job is to motivate the team to play together, not to motivate individuals to give their best effort. Like, by the time you get to college basketball, if you don't want to play hard and you don't have a passion for the game, like, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, two things I just want to reiterate. So again, this is all about trying to educate parents and players more than anything, and it's a passion of mine outside of the game, and just sticking around the game, and I've always loved it, and just again, the more kids can get informed in today's world, got so many things with select basketball and everything, coach, that from sources like you that have done it for 28 years, I think it's just going to be awesome for these folks that are listening because it ain't coming from a third party or a trainer or something. That's not a. It's coming from you. And again, that's the same thing I looked at. But I'm just gonna reiterate what you said. Yes, effort. If you don't know when they're watching you, can increase your recruitment. I always say, make them find a way to like you. Even make them find a way to come back and say, "Oh, maybe he doesn't have a jump shot, but I got to go watch number 12 again." And then what you said, they don't think you understand is I tell them, man, it's a habit. Like you're talking about, like in the huddle, even if money's involved, if you're moving up the board, now they're going to even look closer at you in the huddle. Don't you think they're not looking at that? Unless you're a mid-major, you're going to go pro. They'll take a 1 year chance on you, and you'll transfer down the line. But that brings me to my last question. And the NAI Division II ranks, JUCO Division III, whatever, but NAI and Division II in particular, because you can get athletic aid there. It's programs where there's still very good kids passing up opportunities, and they don't understand what has the portal done. And this is my final question for you, because I know you're busy and got to go. But what has the portal done for recruitment in general at those levels right below D2 and NAI Division I programs?
Yeah, it's having a really interesting impact. And I think to sort of say, hey, this is exactly where it's at, I think we don't know that yet. Because of the evolution of the portal, because of the open transfer now, one time in Division One, also in the aftermath of COVID, where you have all these kids who were in college last year in 2021 from freshman to senior year that received an extra year of eligibility. So between the transferring and the extra kids, it's pushing everything back, and that works really from the top down, from Division One into the lower levels of D1 into D2 and AI. So I think people are getting opportunities later. I think all coaches, even coaches who have always been predominantly built their programs on 4-year kids, are still waiting a little longer to sort of see, like, who are these players out there that might be filtering to my level? Who are the younger players that high school players that maybe I didn't think I could get involved with previously, but now I have a better chance to get. So I think it's pushing things back relative to the calendar. And I also think it means that when you're being recruited and a couple schools are stepping forward and you start to go through that checklist we talked about, hey, this place is pretty good for me basketball wise, and it's a pretty good school academically. It's got my major. Socially, it's kind of the size school I'm looking for. It's the right distance from home, whether you're looking to go far away or stay close. All those things. If you have a couple opportunities that are good and check a lot of boxes, and the offer presents itself, like, you probably don't want to hesitate on those, because whether more will come around later or not, you don't really, there's no guarantee.
Man, I said I was going to keep it at 20 minutes, and I did keep it at 20 minutes. And again, this is awesome, man. If this grows like Joe Rogan, brother, just know in 5 years from now, you were the first. And I hit you up so hard because, again, I don't say this. You're one of the more interesting, intelligent, your longevity, your championships at multiple levels. And maybe we can bring you back later when I improve some sound and get a goddamn spot that actually doesn't have music jamming inside. But I want to end on before I let you go, and I'll bring him on. And we'll knock you out the deal here. What did you call me last year when we were talking? What was that show? I'm still trying to find it on Netflix, man. It was awesome. What was that goddamn show?
Which one was I?
Oh, the guy on the street, man, that played the horn, man. You called the
Yeah.
what,
You know what? If I can, it's here in my
what
office.
was
It's a movie about Satan and Adam.
there you go.
You got to watch it. They were a blues act out of
Now,
Harlem.
which
New
one
York
am
City.
I? Which one am I to you, man? As a longtime guy, was I Satan or which dude was I in there? Because I'm gonna watch that sucker now.
Well, Satan was the talent, and Adam might have been the grinder. So you might be the grinder, man.
Yeah, I'm probably the grinder. I
It's
didn't have much talent. You saw me back when we were coaching, and you were going, you're doing all those defensive boxes, coach. I mean, god dang. I mean, yeah, I didn't have all the talent. I wasn't Brad Stevens. So same thing I'm doing here. I'm grinding, and this is going to be a big thing that I've been wanting to do for years, and it's just about starting.
yeah.
I saw a simple quote that said, "Start by starting." Technology scares me, man. If I'm going to give advice about fixing this and this, it's uncomfortable. This wasn't that uncomfortable, man. Thank you for your time, coach. You look great. Good luck this year, and we'll be in touch, man. If I can ever do anything, let me know.
Coach V, a real pleasure. And I think you're really I think your approach to really trying to, both through your camps and to expose kids in the right way where they can be evaluated by coaches, but also to help educate kids and parents how to navigate the recruiting process is so important and so valuable. So it's great what you're doing.
Thanks, you, man. Have a good one, and good luck. I'll be following you, brother.
Sounds great. We'll see you soon.
Take care.
Thanks.
All right, Sherrod. I was mute my I was right on time. Are we still live? I can't hear you.
Yes, sir. Quick question.
Right. I was only thing that was problem, and these people are maybe still on there, as I was muting my mic when he was talking, so at least they got him because I still had some traffic behind me. I don't know how it sounded, but hopefully they got most of that.
No, it sounded great, Coach. Quick question. Do you have any events or anything coming up soon?
Well, my last event of the year is Sunday at DFW. It's the finale. It's October 31st. I did it on Halloween last year, almost out of default because I couldn't find a gym. And it was such a great turnout because there was no conflict that it was just awesome. So, having said that, I mean, yeah, I've got probably 8 or 10 spots left, but I got a great group coming. I've got 4 college coaches on staff, and I got a couple of good extra evaluators with Texas Prep that does a great job. And, Coach Todd Shelton, who's been a college coach as well, he's, I pay him to evaluate. And again, I don't have no ego. Like my man said, it's about fit. And if all the college coaches are there, my templates are all created at the end so I can see by a college coach's perspective in the fall. Gives me 6 months to help them be promoted to the right fit. So other than that, once I hit November with everything we got in place, it's going to be about, getting every kid that was a top prospect over 9 camps, a college list that matches, the right fit and, really so they can gain real interest. And that's what Coach Marks was saying. But this is not about me. This show is all about bringing college coaches on. We're going to, I think, ship the Wednesday and Sunday. And I'm going to be better about a day before introducing what coach is going to be on. But, man, by the 2022, we want to do this for 2 months, Coach Sherrod. And I want every kid and parent to go into the spring for free, hearing from professionals. No tricks, no agendas. What it takes, what you can do, what your child can do outside of talent. It's going to help him get recruited or eliminate him from some recruiters' boards. And I think that was a great start, and you couldn't have a much better first guest because Coach Marks, if you research him, Ryan Marks, his career is extensive and it covers every level like mine did, which he understands. Some things are universal, Coach Sherrod. Just because don't think D3s ain't going to scratch you for being a bad teammate or whatever, or it won't increase your recruitment. All those things that we encompass, I want parents to learn. But we'll get into more topic related stuff next week, and just glad to be on.
All right, Coach. Well, have a good day.
You too. I'll talk soon next Wednesday. And I'll see you Sunday. I know you're coming out to take headshots for me and pictures. So I'll see you on Sunday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. See you Sunday.